in Ontario and Quebec were left without power after a winter storm blew into the province, while much of Western Canada remains in a deep freeze with wind chill values in parts of BC and the prairies hovering between -30 and -50 degrees Celsius. Hundreds of civilian workers at military bases in Ontario and Quebec will soon walk off the job. The Public Service Alliance of Canada says close to 500 workers will go on strike as of Monday at 6 Canadian Forces bases over wages and job security. A New York architect suspected of being a serial killer could be facing a fourth murder charge. ABC's Brian Clark has more.
Multiple sources tell ABC News suspected Long Island serial killer Rex Heuermann is expected to be charged with a fourth murder. Police arrested Heuermann last year and charged him with the murders of 3 women whose bodies were discovered in 2010. They've said he's the primary suspect in the death of Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Her body was found bound with a belt buckle that bore initials authorities say could have belonged to Heuermann's father.
Heuermann is a licensed architect with a Manhattan-based firm that, according to its website, has done store build-outs and other renovations for major retailers, offices, and apartments. And an internationally renowned studio for Inuit art is celebrating its 65th anniversary this year.
The West Baffin Co-op in Inuit Nunavut, formerly known as Cape Dorset, is an outgrowth of efforts in the early 1950s to improve the production, quality, and marketing of art that Inuit had been making for centuries. Its art is now shown around the world and has represented Canada at major global art fairs. Co-op President Palusika Majiak says the studio has grown into a business that operates a retail store, leases housing to the territorial government, and even runs a small engine repair shop. Rob Bosky, the Canadian Press.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the Houston Texans take on the Cleveland Browns today for the second time in 3 weeks. Making his pro playoff debut is Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. He talked about how he deals with the pressure.
I've played in games before, big games, and the less that you put pressure on yourself, and I feel like the more you just execute and do your job, and that's when good things happen.
Stroud will face the Browns for the first time after missing Houston's 36-22 loss to them while recovering from a concussion. The Buffalo Bills' wildcard playoff game against the Pittsburgh Steelers that was scheduled for tomorrow has been moved to Monday amid a forecast for dangerous winter weather. Canada's dreams of a third straight gold medal at the World Women's Under-18 Hockey Championship are over after a 4-2 loss to Czechia in the semifinals in Switzerland. And a busy day in the NHL today with 32 teams at play. From the Canadian Press, I'm Lisa Laporte.
Time for a new smile? Dental veneers start at just $899, and you can usually see the results in 2 weeks. Interest-free financing available, and we direct bill your insurance.
Happiness starts with a smile. Happy in a dental.
During Honda's Get That Honda Feeling event, lease an Ontario-built Honda Civic from just 4.99% for 24 months. Yup, Civic leases from only 4.99%. Westgate Honda, just west of Wonderland on Oxford. WestgateHonda.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks? Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking? Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
At Coulter's Pharmacy, they've worked hard to create a winning culture. And as they celebrate their 50th year, Coulter's is still committed to doing whatever it takes to serve you best. In fact, they recently made an important addition to their roster. Coulter's is now the new home of London Healthcare and Ostomy Center. Your source for ostomy supplies, post-mastectomy items, compression stockings, and more. Coulter's Pharmacy and Home Healthcare, the official health and wellness center of the London Knights. Visit CoultersPharmacy.com.
You're listening to The Roy Green Show, live on Global News Radio, 980 TFPL.
Standing up. All Roy Green Show.
You know, the people who were keeping together the healthcare system were the most resilient part of that whole thing. And once they started to fall apart, you know, the glue that kept the system together started to fall apart. And I think people are starting to feel that now with long wait times, you know, going to emergency rooms, trying to get in for care, sometimes spending the entire day, giving up, coming back again the next day. And it's incredibly frustrating for both providers in the system, and I know for patients who are trying to get that care.
That was the voice of Dr. Olika LaFontaine, the past president of the Canadian Medical Association, on this program. And I think that was 2022 when we talked to Dr. LaFontaine about the situation within Canada's healthcare system, particularly ERs, emergency rooms. Not good now. Really not good now. The Canadian Medical Association released this statement. Anyway, here's the headline of the one-page statement they issued this week. Patients, providers suffer as ERs are overwhelmed yet again. Wait times up to 20 hours are being experienced. And then I went back and I found the Canadian Medical Association Journal, September 25 of last year. There was an article headlined, "Without more acute care beds, hospitals are on their own to grapple with emergency department crises." And that's spelled CRISES, as in multiples. Dr. Kathleen Ross is the president of the Canadian Medical Association, and she's back with us. Dr. Ross, thank you for taking the time.
Happy to be here.
So the fact the CMA issued this one-page release on the state of ERs in Canada speaks volumes to me.
Dr. Ross, please, the perspective for Canadians who view emergency departments at their hospitals as the refuge, perhaps of last meaningful resort when they or their loved ones are in health distress, particularly the 6 million or so who have no family now.
Oh, it's deeply concerning, and it certainly highlights just how fragile our healthcare system has become. And these are not new problems, as you've said. You pointed out the number of acute care beds. Back in the 1990s, when I first started practice, we made significant cuts to the number of hospital beds, and it really wasn't supported by an increase in resources in community care. So we have both an inflow into the emergency department challenge and an outflow for admitted patients in the emergency department. And part of that's an inadequate number of beds for the surge we're facing right now. And part of it's not having those alternate levels of care beds, long-term care, rehabilitation. And then on the inflow side, with patients not having access to primary care, and we know that 1 in 5 Canadians don't have a primary care provider, and of those who do, 40% or more will tell you it's difficult to access their primary care provider in decent time. So we wind up with chronic conditions that aren't managed appropriately, winding up in emerge, and people not having anywhere else to go.
Yeah. We talked about immigration in the last hour, and 75% of Canadians told Leger that their concern about the current immigration numbers is that it will negatively affect healthcare, education as well, and housing. So we took some phone calls, Dr. Ross, and the majority of our callers wanted to talk about the state of healthcare in Canada. They felt certainly that immigration numbers were too high given the infrastructure available. But they wanted to talk about their healthcare experiences. And that speaks volumes to me. And after I speak with you, I'm going to take more calls on experiences with emergency rooms. But I'm looking at my clock here in the studio. And I'm on Eastern time. You're on Pacific time. We have different time zones in this country. People listen to us all over the country. So if I look at my time, it's 4:11 now. So I walk into an ER and I've got something wrong with me. I know there's something wrong with me. And I need help. The potential is there that I will have to wait until noon tomorrow to be seen. That's not reassuring. That's scary.
Certainly not. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think Canadians are really losing patience. It is taking us too long to come forward with solutions. And we know our main challenges are worker retention, alongside an inadequate number of workers in training, and not fully integrating internationally trained graduates as yet. These are all challenges. But no matter how many more care providers we put in the system, if we're not able to retain them because working conditions are overwhelmed and you have lack of resources when you show up to work to meet the needs of the patient that's in front of you, it's really difficult to retain people. And we're seeing burnout and resigning from positions across the country.
Which only exacerbates the situation.
Oh, absolutely, makes it worse. So we know we need to shore up the system as it exists. Well, right now, for sure, and that sustainable healthcare funding is important. But we also need to set clear targets to enhance patient access. Looking at our foundation, our front door of healthcare in primary care, looking at what we need to do to support our emergency departments, and then on the other side, looking at shoring up community services. Whether that's long-term care beds, rehabilitation beds, hospital at home, so we can treat some of these conditions in the home rather than having a bed occupied in the emerge or elsewhere. All parts of the solution.
Dr. Ross, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't know. But I had the lead doctor of a group of emergency rooms in Hamilton hospitals tell me the patients were dying because they couldn't get inside an emergency room at the hospital nearest their home or location of distress. That was in the 1990s, when there were already hospital bypass instructions for ambulance crews because ERs then couldn't handle any more patients. And it was those paramedic ambulance crews who were left caring for patients who couldn't be admitted to the ER while the ambulance was parked outside. Is it still that bad?
It is not a new problem, and unfortunately, these pressures keep mounting. And the approach in healthcare management often, if it emerges the canary in the coal mine, is to go and find a more resilient canary. But I think time is now to really have a good hard look at the coal mine. We need to improve the working conditions and the ability for patients to access care close to home, where and when they need it. And that means looking at community resources, including access to primary care. We need to look at the ability for us to move patients for alternate level of care out of the hospital and leave space. And then we need to support Canadians in being their best healthy self, getting their vaccinations like flu or COVID when they're available, looking at managing your chronic diseases to the optimal way, and if we all work in the same direction and collaborate across jurisdictions, this can happen.
Yeah, taking care of your own health as best you can to the maximum of your potential is a critical component in the delivery of healthcare. We understand that. But let me ask you, I've spoken with you now, I think 3 times. In your, so far, it's still a brief tenure. You have a long way to go. In your time as president of the CMA, I've spoken to your predecessors for 30 years. And I hear many of the same positions, perhaps modified slightly, over that time. So I'm asking you, Dr. Ross, who's listening? Who's actually listening and absorbing what the Canadian doctors are saying, identifying as the problem in delivering the health care Canadians pay so many dollars for? Huge amounts of money go into health care. Who listens to you?
So I think lots of people listen. It's just that the healthcare system is a behemoth of a machine, and we've seen these excellent works in silos across the country. I like to call them cylinders of excellence. But now is the time to break down silos, to actually set some targets, understand what we need to deliver in the way of services before we say who and where. So what do we need? Then start talking about who and where. Start ensuring that we have the right number of people, the right number of places to place patients, and ensure that those dollars are there to improve healthcare. I've been at this for 30 years. I've been having many of these same conversations for 30 years. I think what's changed this time is the urgency that the Canadian population at large feels now. We know we cannot continue doing more of the same. We need to modernize how we deliver our health care, and that may mean changing where we deliver services, how we talk to patients back and forth, leveraging technology where that's appropriate. All of these things are on the list to do. Underlying all of this is the need for collaboration across all jurisdictions in the country, across all sites of care in the country, across all providers in the country. We need Canadians to keep speaking up to their political leadership, keep their foot on the gas. We need to address this urgent challenge in our healthcare system before it falls apart altogether.
Yeah. So, here's my question. Looking at the headline of your statement, patients and providers suffer as ERs are overwhelmed yet again, 20-hour waits. If the appropriate things are not done, the appropriate actions are not taken, if what you've just shared is not undertaken and put in place, how long can this hold out? How long until we are in a situation where it's just not there anymore?
Yeah, so it's absolutely challenging to predict how long we can hang on. I mean, we're relying on the resilience of humans oftentimes. But I do have hope as I head into 2024. We've seen, investment of an unprecedented nature in healthcare this past year. I'm encouraging all jurisdictions across Canada to sign those bilateral agreements with the federal government to get those additional dollars out the door. And those agreements were to tailor and taper to the needs of specific populations and geographies, but really centered around those 4 shared health priorities, and that's access to family health services, particularly rural and remote, supporting healthcare workers, reducing backlogs, increasing access to mental health and substance use, and really modernizing how we gather and use healthcare data and digital tools. These are all part of our work ahead, but there's dollars on the table that are as yet unclaimed in many jurisdictions.
So this is just my personal thinking here. I would like to take the politicians and the bureaucrats responsible for making the decisions and drag them into a big hospital ER and sit them down there for 20 hours. Just watch. Just watch. That's what I would do. But I don't yet, Dr. Ross, have that power. Thank you so much. It's an honor to talk to you. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Kathleen Ross. Not good. We're going to take your calls on your experiences in Canadian emergency rooms. So it's now 4:19 Eastern Time. So if I were to walk into an ER right now with a problem that is significant to me, I might have to wait until 19 minutes after noon tomorrow before somebody sees me. So my number is 1-800-263-2428. 1-800-263-2428. Have you had an experience in a Canadian emergency room in the last 2 years which mirrors what we've been talking about? Give me a call right now. 1-800-263-2428. Maddie, take care of the callers, please. 1-800-263-2428. Share your experiences with us right now on The Roy Green Show.
In today's world of fake... Everybody's talking about the new Genesis and its award-winning SUV. Here's Hassa Jazzy, managing partner Genesis London, to tell us more.
People have been lining up to get one of these remarkable new luxury SUVs. Great news. We've secured a huge shipment of GV70s, GV80s, and GV70 electric models. Let us put one in your driveway. Genesis luxury SUVs are incredible vehicles with warranty and service that far exceeds our luxury brand competitors.
Experience a Genesis for yourself. GenesisLondon.ca.
I get it. Talking about debt, or even hearing a radio ad about debt, can make you feel uncomfortable. But when you find people who will actually listen, talking about debt is the best thing you can do for your financial health. I'm Mike Braga, a licensed insolvency trustee at BDO, right here in London. If you're struggling with debt, you can talk to our local team by phone, video conference, or meet with us in person. Let's make talking about debt easier. Call 1-833-BDO-TALK or visit bdodebt.ca to book a free consultation.
Oh, hey! Welcome to Pluto TV, a streaming service that's totally free. Getting started is as easy as 1, 2, free. 1. Search the App Store for Pluto TV on your smart TV or mobile device. 2. Hit that download button. Then you're ready to watch movies and TV shows for free, with no subscription required. So you can stream all day with nothing to pay. Pluto TV. Easy as 1, 2, 3.
Cohen Hiley.
When an accident or injury occurs, your legal team's focus needs to be returning your life back to normal, or at least your new normal, as quickly as possible with the least amount of stress. If you've been injured, contact Cohen Hiley today. We only get paid if you get paid, so you will have zero out-of-pocket expenses. Cohen Hiley Law Firm. There for you when you need us. CohenHiley.com.
For 97 years, the Inch family has been providing home comfort solutions across London, St. Thomas, and everywhere in between. So when it comes to expert advice, you don't want to miss the Inch by Inch Home Comfort Show, presented by Peter Inch & Associates Heating and Air Conditioning. Saturdays, Peter Inch and Steve Gilbert bring you tips and tricks and answer questions about heating, air conditioning, indoor air improvement, and upcoming products designed to reduce your utility bills. Email your questions to inchbyinch@peterinch.ca and listen Saturday mornings at 9 on 980 CFPL.
Hey, what's up today, hon?
Well, I've got some errands to run. How about you?
I'm gonna head over to Cummins Optical to pick up my new glasses. Then I'll see what happens next. Get it? See what happens next?
That guy's got a great sense of humor. And I've got a great deal on frames. Save up to 50% off with the purchase of a complete pair of glasses. Why not a new look for the new year? Come see us at Cummins Optical. New glasses can really change how you see things. Cummins Optical, Westmount Shopping Center.
Hi, I'm Chad from Cellular Magician. If you're looking to upgrade your phone, don't be at the mercy of your phone company. You need Cellular Magician. Whether you're looking for a new cover for your phone, glass protection, to copy your contacts for photos, to trade your old phone for something new, or maybe you just want to save some money, Cellular Magician will make your problems disappear. Order online at cellularmagician.ca or visit us in London, St. Thomas, or Woodstock. We are the best.
It's everything you need to know before you go. And on the go. The Morning Show with Devin Peacock. Weekdays starting at 6 on 980 CFPL and 980CFPL.ca. You're listening to The Roy Green Show, live on Global News Radio, 980 CFPL.
Roy Green Show. Your experience in Canadian emergency rooms or a family member trend in the last few years. We're going to take lots of time for your calls. Lots of time. Let's start with Kirk in Calgary. Kirk calling the Roy Green Show. Kirk, thank you. And what's your story? What can you share with us?
Well, in 2020, I had a massive heart attack at work, and the ambulance took me to a hospital here in Calgary, and I laid in emergency for, I'm pretty sure it was 60-some hours.
60 hours?
Yeah.
That's 2.5 days.
Yeah.
That's 2.5 days.
What? There was 60-some hours laying in a little room in the emergency. Sure, they kept coming checking on you and stuff like that before they got you into regular hospital.
Kirk, hold on a sec. Were you being treated at that time or just being observed?
Just being observed. Hooked up to.
That's scary.
I know, but Roy, it's worse today.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. So after 60 hours, what did they do for you once they discovered that you had?
Well, they did a whole bunch of tests on me, and they found the problem, and then they rectified the problem, put in a loop recorder in my chest, and sent me on my way.
You could have died in that 60 hours.
Yeah, well, a lot of other people are.
Sure, thank you for the call. 1-800-263-2428. All right. I think it's Matt, is it? M-E-T in Wadena, Saskatchewan. Hi, Matt.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
Good.
What's your experience?
Well, I had to go to an ER at one of our local regional hospitals, and I simply wasn't impressed with the kind of care they received, or I received, and the physicians that are working there. And from my point of view, it seems like in rural Saskatchewan, we have almost no kids who grew up in Saskatchewan working in the hospitals as the doctors. There seems to be a big disconnect, and we get doctors in from all over the world. And I'm not saying they're not qualified or anything like that, but they're never really part of the community. They're just here for a year or two, passing through on their way to a big center like Toronto or Vancouver, and it seems like they must get some sort of conditional license to practice in Saskatchewan. And once they get qualified properly, then they just move on. There's solutions to that.
Matt, let me get you to hold on. I have to take a break here, but we'll come back. Don't go away. You're our first caller. We'll continue with you when we come back. Please hold on. Your experiences in emergency rooms. We're not picking on doctors. We're not picking on nurses. We're not picking on paramedics. We want to hear from you about what happens after our talk with the president of the Canadian Medical Association on the Roy Green Show.
For the local stories happening right here in London, to updates from the region and around the world, London's information destination is 980 CFPL. Stay informed with news updates. Keep engaged with the shows you love and be part of the conversation. London Live with Mike Stubbs.
This is a call of kudos, Mike. Kudos to you, your producers, your screener, your staff, for making that show so fluid and influential.
London's daily source for the stories that matter most. For more than 100 years, you're listening to 980 CFPL.
Okay. Right. Got it. Whatever you say, sir. That was the boss. And he said that right now, everyone could use an extra $500 cash. Come on in today and make your best deal on a new vehicle and put $500 in your your pocket at Finch Hyundai. Interest rates lower than the banks. And now, during Finch Hyundai's I Heart Winter Sales event, score $500 bonus cash with every new and used vehicle sold. Finch Hyundai, 300 Southdale Road.
Cohen Hiley.
The loss of a loved one is always painful. The last thing anyone needs is for their pain to be compounded by estate disputes. If you have concerns over how an estate was handled, contact Cohen Hiley today. With solutions ranging from mediation to litigation, we prioritize the needs of each individual client while pursuing their best interest through each stage. Cohen Hiley Law Firm, there for you when you need us. CohenHiley.com.
She's 5'1" and in her 63rd year, it's your left winger and captain, Susan. He's a 6-foot electrician and proud new father starting at center. It's Gary. And finally, even though he's only 4, he more than holds his own in JK. Get on your feet for future first-round pick, Leo. At Coulter's Pharmacy, no introductions are ever necessary. They know your name and already consider you a star. Coulter's Pharmacy and Home Health Care, the official health and wellness center of the London Knights. Visit coulterspharmacy.com.
Do you have a great idea? Do something about it. Tom did.
Today's Great Idea with Glenn Stewart. Turn your great idea into reality. Visit todaysgreatidea.com.
Tom lived in Vernon, BC, a town on the shores of beautiful Kalamako Lake. After years of working odd jobs, Tom took a chance and bought the local service station. It was expensive, and he had to borrow money from virtually everybody he knew to do it, including $20 from the former owner so he'd have something in the till. Well, the next 18 months were not any easier, but one of the bright spots was selling tires. Pretty soon, Tom realized that maybe being a tire dealer might work out better. So together with his partner Jim, they converted the service station into a tire store. Then they set about building it up by offering customers great service and by innovating, including getting other tire dealers in other cities to adopt their brand so that they could all share buying power and branding. Well, it worked. And Tom's company grew fast by instantly adding these loyal, knowledgeable local dealers. Today, over 60 years later, the company Tom and his partner Jim started now has over 250 locations across Canada. And it's still named after Tom's favorite lake in Vernon, BC, Kalamako Lake. Cal Tire. Cal Tire is a great idea because trying new concepts out and being persistent never gets tired. Take action today. We help turn great ideas into reality. Go to todaysgreatidea.com.
Estate Jewelry at Nash Jewelers. It offers amazing benefits, incredible value, always well below replacement cost, wonderful designs, often a reflection of exciting periods and different eras, one-of-a-kind creations, and occasionally, top brand offerings, making room for new designs. Estate Jewelry, a rock-solid reason to visit Nash Jewelers, where quality is backed by our century-old reputation. Shop online at nashjewelers.com or by appointment in the store. Nash Jewelers, a family tradition since 1918. Going through a divorce or separation can be emotionally overwhelming, but with Drake Law, you have strong support and you are never alone. Their team of compassionate family lawyers are ready to help you every step of the way. Whether you need help negotiating child custody and support, division of property, resolving disputes through mediation, or preparing for litigation, the family lawyers at Drake Law can provide the expert guidance you need. Contact your trusted family lawyers serving London, St. Thomas, and Sarnia at drakelaw.ca.
It can be tough to go in depth within the Ontario Hockey League, but if you're a diehard fan of London Knights like myself, The Night Shift has you covered. It's the podcast that gives you an all-access pass about the London Knights, from in-depth analysis, game and player breakdowns, along with interviews with current and former coaches and players. Myself, along with the voice of the London Knights, Mike Stubbs, will break it all down. Make sure you follow along with the podcast as we gear up for another incredible season. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to The Roy Green Show, live on Global News Radio, 980 CFPL.
800-263-2428 now. This is The Roy Green Show.
But no matter how many more care providers we put in the system, if we're not able to retain them because working conditions are overwhelmed and have lack of resources when they show up to work to meet the needs of the patient that's in front of you, it's really difficult to retain people. And we're seeing burnout and resigning from positions across the country.
So
Dr. Kathleen Ross, the president of the Canadian Medical Association, with us earlier in the hour. Patients, providers suffer as ERs are overwhelmed yet again, says the Canadian Medical Association. Up to 20-hour waits. Roy at RoyGreenshow.com is the email. That's from Donna. Remember, Roy, there's no meal tray going to those people waiting either. My husband asked for something to eat as he missed the window for Timmy's because he didn't want to miss his name being called. The nurse shared half her sandwich with him. Bless her heart. I really mean it. Thanks, Roy. God bless a person if they're diabetic rather. And in the queue waiting, cheers, Donna. Thank you, Donna. 800-263-2428 is our number. Your experience in Canadian hospital ERs. Let's push this. Back to Matt in Inuit, Saskatchewan. So if I understood Matt before we took the break, am I pronouncing your name correctly, by the way?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So your concern is that the ERs in Saskatchewan, which is a much smaller population than most of the, certainly the larger provinces in Canada, are being used as a stopgap by doctors moving ahead in their careers. So they come to Saskatchewan for a little while and then they're gone, and any continuity with the community is lost.
There's absolutely no continuity. They're not part of the community. Lots of them, probably 10, 15, 20, 25% commute in from Toronto and Vancouver. And they live in those cities and they just come here to work. And we really shouldn't be happy about that, because you're talking about incomes that approach $500,000, $750,000, $1 million a year. And that income isn't staying in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I don't think ER docs make $1 million a year.
Well, they make $500,000.
Maybe. But anyway, the point is, the management of the system so it properly looks after the people who are paying for it. Matt, thank you very much. In Saskatchewan, Edwin is in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And what's your experience, Edwin?
Roy, I love your show, by the way. I just
Thank
want
you.
to point that out. I'm so glad you're on the air. My father-in-law, he's a great man, okay? I'm not going to get into details of who he is. He's like lots of other Canadians just like him. He's in his 80s. His heart gave way a couple weeks ago. He was losing